So the other day I made a video about collectors versus resellers and gamers and physical media investors, and how collectors that do not game are considered sometimes to be bad guys in the community because they're hoarding games that other people would want to play and experience. So what do we have here? First, I'm going to talk just to briefly mention physical media investing. This term I just came out of my head is buying in market current, gen or last gen if it's still in production, physical media, keeping it sealed. You're predicting based on past franchises, genres, companies like Working Designs or whatever, which may not even exist anymore. Predicting that they will go up in value. So you're not taking anything from the retro or market. You're not taking away anything from the market. If people want these games, they have every opportunity to get them. What do we have here though? Nintendo games. What if I had 2 or 3 copies of each one of these? So, is there a moral dilemma? Do I have a responsibility to maybe start getting rid of some of my extras? Maybe. I'm going to go outside and talk a little bit more about this, so we'll be kind of in the garden.
I was Yahoo auction reseller and dabbled into eBay, for a few years. These NES games and a lot of other games were everywhere. I mean, you could find Contra every other day. You went yard selling or flea marketing, for 50 cents, $2, $5. And they sold for like $14 or $15 at the time. You could find Chrono Triggers routinely, 50 cents to $5. And sometimes you could find them with the box instructions and everything. In fact, I still have the instructions to Chrono Trigger, which, I guess there was a time when there didn't seem to be a large gap between loose carts and full sets. Even though, at the time there probably were people that collected only box complete sets. Nowadays, even if something comes, occasionally to a Goodwill or Salvation Army, a lot of the stuff gets picked through in the back. And how do I know that? I used to go and buy stuff at Salvation Army, appliances and stuff, that sometimes was never put in the front for people to, for the public to buy. It would have been, but people kind of get to know you, and they, you say, do you have this? Do you have that in the back? Or can we go in the back and look and see what you got? And, some employees or whatever, or managers just, knew you and said, okay, go look in the back, see what's there, and I'll let you know if you're interested in something, if it's for sale. So one day we went in the back of one of these Salvation Armies, and there was a stack of games probably 2 foot high. I don't remember if they were GameCube or what. Not for sale. That's, the manager's nephew's Christmas presents. So there is a lot of that kind of stuff going on. And Goodwill, I had one of my aunts was the assistant manager at one of the Goodwills. She would tell you that she had to pay for stuff. Even if she got first dibs on it, she still would have to pay for it. Because I guess she thought maybe her family members were going to mooch on her or something. But her husband, my uncle, he said no, we didn't have to pay for any of that. He ended up getting cars and all kinds of stuff, that Goodwill was coming in. And I think on the more expensive items like the cars, he would get them for like $200. A lot of people would just, donate their old cars for tax purposes, tax write-offs or something, in perfectly good condition. So one of the managers at the same Goodwill found, here was a rule: the people that sort through the things, if they were on the good graces of the managers, if they found like coins and money in purses, don't tell anybody, just put it in your pocket, it's yours. Well, the manager found like a $700 or $800 gold ring, diamond ring. She ended up putting it on eBay, and of course it spread all over the place. And that kind of stuff just happens. I think you kind of expect that to happen. I remember one of the thrift stores said, our volunteers, if you volunteer, you're not really allowed to pick what you want, but if you want clothes, you can get like a bag of, clothes for free for volunteering all day. So there was you had to be in the little, what do you call it, the clique, possibly be, assistant manager, some kind of sorter that was in the good graces of the management. But almost everything was accessible to some of the employees. As far as games, are concerned, like retro games, pawn shops, when Yahoo was popular until it died, and then everybody moved to eBay, there was a period between where like pawn shops would not use eBay for the most part. There was a transition period, maybe 5 or 7 years later, all the pawn shops used eBay. So you could even go to pawn shops and find these classic games, sometimes very cheap. Or if they held on to them for too many months, as a rural area where not many people had internet, not many people did eBay, then they would have a clearance on them, or you could make them an offer on 20 games or whatever. I did that with Sega Saturn, Super Nintendo, variety of other stuff with some of our local pawn shops. Maybe 5 or 7 years ago, some of the pawn shops started dedicating a part of their store to classic games. And guess what? They used eBay as their pricing tool, or their, what they priced out items at. And then they also sold on eBay as well. So you have the market, everybody moving to eBay, and I guess possibly Marketplace nowadays, and Amazon. And you could get games, easily, classic games. But then everybody became an eBay seller, an Amazon reseller, now the Marketplace reseller. And people learned that games and stuff went up. They had a lot of value online to sell. But also, you can't really, like I said, people, in the administration, the management team, assistant managers, sorters, sometimes also gets to grab stuff before they hit the store shelves for the public to buy in the thrift stores. So if somebody donated 100 Nintendo games, chances are they would never see the line, they would never be put on the public shelves for sale. Also, resellers, kind of camp at thrift stores waiting for the opportunity. Maybe this is a new employee pricing out items. These other people that would normally grab an expensive or rare game and, not let it go out there, somebody puts it out there. You got all these people grabbing them. I would say people like me, but I don't resell anymore, so that kind of affects what is available in the market. You don't see stuff like this, on a shelf for a month. Everybody that wants them, everybody that looks for this kind of stuff, they don't all have the opportunity to find them. And then you just have so many collectors. I guess this is the argument. So many collectors out there that aren't playing their games. They're not getting rid of their collections. And people want the games, and they have to pay more money for them. And so they're just, some people like me are not going to pay $100 plus or $150 for Dragon Warrior 4 on NES. It's not worth it to me.
Since the market has dried up so much,
also, us gamers / collectors may have some doubles and triples and quadruples of some of the games that, and I've bought lots of games where I'm not specifically targeting, a Super Mario 2 or, Final Fantasy or whatever. And you just shove it to the side and say, okay, this is Final Fantasy. This is a popular franchise. It's going to be worth something one day. And some of the stuff just gets lost in the mix when you have 23 to 2600 games like I do.
Luckily, I do index, or I have indexed almost my
Whole game and console collection, even if not all of my accessories. So that doesn't mean they're organized all in the same place. They're in various storage areas, because you might collect over a period of 30 or 40 years and they're just everywhere. So I guess like I said, the moral dilemma is it time to start getting the doubles, keeping the ones in the best condition, keeping the ones that are complete, selling the extra loose carts and the doubles and triples and quadruples. And I think maybe it's time for me to start thinking about doing that, because maybe part of the argument is right. Maybe people do want these games, and maybe because a few of the people that have extras just haven't sold off. There could be 1,000 of us that just haven't sold off our extra games that could, maybe even make the value of some of these games go down and make them cheaper for gamers to acquire.
in gaming since 1982.
You might as well say I've been collecting since then, although, we lost quite a few collections, through a house fire, we totaled everything. We've kind of been forced to sell a few collections off. And like my Commodore 64 collection, I just made a stupid move to get rid of that, because I love the Commodore 64, I love the big boxes, I love the gold box games, and probably half of my Commodore 64 collection was complete in box. And that was an amazing system.
And,
I guess I suffered from thinking that at one time that the market would always be similar, Like I lost my opportunity to get Popful Mail when it was $15 to $25 at the flea markets. I lost my opportunity to get Terminator for the Sega CD when it was a $20 to $35 game, and now it's $100, $150, whatever. And I thought, at one time I would always be able to find Chrono Triggers and Secret of Manas and all the Mega Man games on the NES, but I was wrong. I can get almost any of them, if not all of them, but I'm not going to pay the price for them. So maybe I should contribute a little bit to the gaming community by looking at my extras and trying to get rid of some of them. Problem with Marketplace, though, is 99% of everybody that messages you are scammers, Zelle scammers, Cash App scammers. They're looking for these Google codes and all this crap that, people in Nigeria and India, Bangladesh and all that stuff are just scamming people. So it's not really worth the effort to do that. I have to find like an alternative means